Hi, I'm Susie Burrell. I'm a nutritionist and lifestyle expert, and I'm honoured to be hosting these meetings for you as members of the Biggest Loser Club. The meeting will run for about 15 minutes, followed by a 15-minute live chat. You can post comments at any time in the form below. Each week, we'll focus on a particular theme that's close to your hearts. And since it's a new year, we've dedicated our first meeting to all things motivation, so you can just lose it in 2011. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Famous words there from Winston Churchill. And it's true. Sticking to a healthy eating and exercise plan plays a vital role in feeling great, maintaining focus, and fulfilling our fitness goals. But let's be honest, it can be hard to stay in the mindset 100% of the time. So today, we're here to be inspired with the winner of last season's Biggest Loser TV show, Lisa Hose, and clinical psychologist Cindy Nour. So Lisa, motivation is one thing that is an issue for all of us. You've lost 56 kilos in 5 months in the Biggest Loser house. How did you maintain your motivation?
I think it's really important to have motivation, something at the end of it. And for me, it was getting into my wedding dress. That was something that I wanted to show my children what I looked like in it, and I'd never been able to. So for me, that was my biggest motivation, and that just kept me going. And knowing each week that when I got on the scales, I had no regrets for the week.
I love that, no regrets each week. That's a really great message, isn't it? Now, Lisa, we've spoken about your wedding dress being a big motivator, but of course you spent 5 months in the Biggest Loser house and you won the competition. Yeah. How much was the money a factor in motivating you?
For me, the money wasn't a factor because I didn't acquire the bracelet until right towards the end. And I can always remember the day I got into my wedding dress. I was like, I'm there, I'm going home. And everyone's going, no, you're not. You know, you can still be here. And so when I did get the double bracelet, definitely when I went home for that time, it was in my head that, you know, there is that added motivation that I can pay a lump sum off my mortgage if I do really well.
Yeah, but the biggest thing was the most personal, which
it
of course was the wedding dress.
Definitely.
Now, Cindy, you work with people getting them ready for weight loss. What are your best tips to get people ready to get into the motivated cycle to maintain their exercise and diet regimes?
Okay, well, I think it's important that they think about what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it. So for Lisa, she was intrinsically motivated, thinking about her wedding dress and how she wanted her kids, you know, to see her in her wedding dress. And that's a really powerful motivator.
So finding something deep inside
to
keep
right.
focused.
That's
nice.
right.
Now, one of the things I find with my clients is the excuses. They come up all the time.
Yep.
And now, Lisa, you had an awful injury when you were in the house. Tell us, how did you work through that?
I did. I had quite a few injuries throughout my time in the house, and at first I was devastated that, you know, I wasn't going to be able to do all the things, because at home that was always an excuse that I've got an injury, I can't train. Having Shannon as my trainer, you know, whenever I couldn't do something, he'd be like, well, if you can't do that, you can do that. I was like, really? So that really worked for me. And whenever I was in a situation where I had something sore or achy, I would choose another form of exercise to do that. Like with the marathon, I couldn't run, so I did it on a bike.
Oh, it's amazing. And so it's really focusing on opportunities and also the positive. But the negative thoughts can sometimes take over. Cindy, what are your tips for the negative thoughts that pop into our minds?
Yeah, look, it's really important to challenge these, not to be too rigid in your thinking, to have flexible thinking, you know, not to be all or none, because that's a definite demotivator.
If you are someone who finds that negative thoughts come up again and again, how long will you need to work on them to actually see some changes?
Well, Susie, it really depends on the person. However, sometimes it can just take one small change in your thinking, and you can often see a bit of a flow-on effect. So if the thoughts have been quite habitual, then, you know, it really just can take a small change in a thought, and sometimes see a difference in other areas of your life.
For me, I think the biggest thing was to acknowledge that I did have those negative thoughts and not deny myself that. And it wasn't until someone pointed out to me that I needed to look at the positives of each day, because I did beat myself up a lot on what I ate when I got out of the house. So acknowledging that, you know, you have done something bad today, or you've eaten something you shouldn't have, but tomorrow's a new day, and working on that.
Okay, so it's acknowledging it,
Yep.
sitting with it, and then formulating some plans to move on, which is quite a nice stepwise process. All right, that's great. So Cindy, if there was just one piece of advice you would give to people who do experience negative thoughts, hoping to move forward from that, what would it be?
Okay, it would be, not to be too hard on yourself, just like Lisa suggested, not to be too all or none or black and white in your thinking, and trying to, kind of be a bit more flexible with your thinking, get to middle ground so that you're not too demotivated.
And so really focusing on thinking patterns. Lisa, how has your thoughts changed, your thought processes since you've left the house?
I think when I first left the house and before I went in, if I ever had a bad day, I'd beat myself up and think, I've blown it for the whole week and that was it. I'd have to start my diet again next Monday because this week was out of the question. Whereas now I don't do that. I tend to go, okay, I've had a bad day, that's okay, and look at the positives of that week, and that is that I trained every day. I did choose not to eat that out of the restaurant and that sort of thing, so not beating myself up all the time. And knowing that the only thing you can control is what you put in your mouth really helps as well.
Which I guess really does come down to a bit of responsibility.
It does.
How can we really help ourselves take responsibility for our actions, particularly when it comes into health and fitness?
It's really important to set realistic goals, to be responsible for those goals, see yourself as that, an agent of change, and remembering that, if you have more confidence in your ability to meet those goals, you'll be more likely to take those goals on as challenges, and also more likely, like Lisa was saying, to recover from setbacks.
Yeah, and focus on the forward, moving forward all the time. Now, Lisa, you were in the house. You had Shannon there every day training you. Since you left the house, what are the key things you've taken on in your life to maintain that level of focus and determination?
I think the biggest thing is just having no regrets each week and knowing that, I had that wonderful opportunity and I sacrificed so much to be in the house that I never wanted to look back and go, that was a total waste of time, giving up that time with my family. So I just try and stay focused on that as in the back of my mind all the time.
Some great advice there from Cindy and Lisa. Thanks, guys. The sooner we accept that we need to move more and eat healthily every day, the sooner we can get on and do it. This week, take inspiration from Lisa in her wedding dress. Find a personal reminder that motivates you, whether it's a photo, a person, or a video, and go back to it whenever you need a boost. We have so many members achieving fantastic milestones, and there's nothing more motivating than sharing in their success. Now over to you, Commando Steve, for this week's member moment.
Thanks, Susie. Now, one of the things that makes the Biggest Loser Club so special is its members. And while each one of you who commits to this program deserves a shout out, I'm here to celebrate a handful of you whose achievements I think are worth crowing about. Since it's January and some of us are still coming back from the holidays, this week's members moment is for the weight loss warriors who stayed true over the silly season. Congratulations to Anne-Marie Paul, who lost 5.1 kilos or 7% of her body weight to be our biggest loser for December. Awesome effort. Best diary keeper of the month was Jo Wilson. She recorded her food and exercise diary 31 days in December. Now that is dedication. Another dedicated member is the very special Christine Bailey. Not only did Christine use her diary 30 out of the 31 days in December, she's lost over 75 kilos since last February. That's an average weekly loss of 1.6 kilos. And an outstanding achievement. Last but not least is Steve Ash. He hit his goal weight last May with a loss of 19 kilos and has managed to maintain it into the new year. What a legend. Some really great results from the members there. I want you all to keep up the good work, and if there's someone you think deserves recognition, tell me about them. Nominate your friends or forum buddies. We've included a shout out form in every meeting topic. Back to you, Susie.
Thanks, Steve. Well, as you know, these meetings are for you, our members. So to give you even extra support on your journey, we have Super Shopper Faye on the case, helping with common diet questions. And this week, we're looking at breakfast.
We are indeed. Now, this is a question that comes up a lot. People get really confused about what to have for breakfast. So what is the best thing to pack into our trolley every week?
Well, first of all, it's important to remember that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's what kickstarts metabolic rate in the morning. And of course, you're going to get better weight loss results if you have your breakfast. Now, the biggest issue I see with my clients is that their breakfast do not have enough lean protein, and protein is the key thing that's going to keep you full throughout the morning.
Okay, so how do I get that balance with cereal, for example?
Well, there are hundreds of cereals in the section, so the key thing is you're looking for one that's very high in fibre. So some of the best choices, of course, are the bran flakes or all bran, and then team that with low fat or skim milk for an extra boost of protein.
What about muesli?
You need to be careful with toasted muesli because it is very high in fat, but untoasted is a great choice. It's very high in fibre and has a lot of essential fats in it, but of course you do have to be careful with portions.
Okay, so weigh it or measure it?
It's a great idea to weigh and measure your cereal. I always put the bowl on the scales and then add the bran flakes or the muesli and aim for about half a cup to about 45 grams, and that is keeping control of your calories and still getting a good source of fibre in the mornings.
Good tip. Now, what about the sugar in cereals? I always find that a bit confusing.
There can be a lot of sugar in cereals, and it generally either comes from dried fruit or added sugars such as honey. So always check your labels, and if sugar is one of the first ingredients on the actual nutritional ingredient list, choose another cereal instead.
Toast is often a favourite for breakfast. Any tips there?
The key thing with toast is that you have to choose a good quality bread. So remember that grain is your best choice, and also adding a protein-rich topping. So baked beans, an egg, some white cheese such as ricotta or cottage cheese are great choices. And another little trick I often talk about with my clients is that just because we always talk about toast in terms of 2 slices does not mean you need 2 slices. So if you're adding a protein-rich topping like an egg or some baked beans, you may only need 1.
What if you're not a big breakfast eater and you can't really stomach those options?
Well, Faye, the key thing to remember is that you have to have breakfast to optimise your metabolism. So I get some fantastic results using the Biggest Loser meal replacement shakes. They're a fantastic quick breakfast on the go. You just mix them with water in your shaker and you've got breakfast in 60 seconds. So there really is no excuse not to have breakfast.
Okay, so to summarise with breakfast?
The key things to remember is to make sure you're getting the right mix of carbohydrates, proteins and good fats. If you're a cereal person, add your skim milk to get a nice boost of protein and go for bran-based cereals. If you're a toast person, make sure you're adding a protein-rich topping like your baked beans, white cheese or an egg. And if you need quick breakfast on the go, a Biggest Loser Club shake is a great quick breakfast that's got great nutritional properties to get you through the morning.
And of course, remember, you can eat toast solo.
That's exactly right. Thanks, Faye. So now you know what it takes to keep the motivation going, and you have the right breakfast choices to fuel your body and get out there and grab those goals. At next week's meeting, we're talking about the exercise X Factor with 2 leading personal trainers. Till then, our live chat will stay open for the next 15 minutes, so you can trade tips or ask questions. I hope that you have enjoyed the very first Biggest Loser Club online meeting. See you all next week.